Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show, where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done For You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Dallas Hale is Chief Executive Officer at Shell Shack with 6 locations in Texas and 1 in Clearwater, Florida. He's also CEO at both Ebb and Flow, a restaurant and bar in Dallas, Texas, and Sushi Marquee in Frisco, Texas. His humble beginnings in the hospitality industry started when he was 11 years old as a busser in a small restaurant called McLean's in his hometown. At 19, he joined the U.S. Coast Guard and proudly served for 5 years. He came out with structure to set goals, enthusiasm to excite others, and willingness to do whatever it takes to be successful. Today, he's successfully launched multiple concepts and oversees more than 500 employees. Dallas, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit more about how you got started in the restaurant industry at such a young age.
I was, as a young kid, I just needed to work and make some money. So I got a job at McLean's, bussing tables and then dishwashing, and just started there, having to get up 5 o'clock in the morning to be there for breakfast on the weekends, and that's how I kind of started my niche.
What town was that in?
That was in Cedar Creek in 7 Points, Texas.
All right. How big of a town is that?
It's pretty small. Cedar Creek is the biggest man-made lake in the state, but it's a pretty small town.
So did you work there all the way up until 19, or in the restaurant industry all the way up until 19 when you joined the Coast Guard?
Yeah, pretty much. I did a stint at Dairy Queen and pizza place and stuff like that until I got, finished in high school and everything, and then joined the military. Yeah.
Did you start to develop ideas even at those early ages for restaurants and how you'd like to see them operate, or was it just work experience?
No, I think, at that young of age, everybody wants to do the whole nightclub thing. So, I had ideas about nightclubs and stuff like that. It wasn't until after I got out of the Coast Guard and worked in nightclubs and started being a very well-rounded manager did I start having the ideas about the restaurants.
So you started working in nightclubs once you got out of the Coast Guard?
Yes, sir.
What were kind of your goals, and how did you kind of transition back into the restaurant industry?
So when I was in the nightclubs, I was, enjoying myself, nightlife and everything. And to be a well-rounded manager, some jobs offers would come up and you couldn't get them because you didn't know food or you didn't know anything like that. I tried to be the best well-rounded manager that I could be. I worked in sports bars, restaurants, nightclubs, everything you could possibly think of to really round myself and, know what my industry is all about. So I took some lower paying jobs to learn and to get mentored. And that's how I got to where I am.
Can you give me an example of one of the places you were a manager at and maybe one of the key things you learned during that time?
So I, let's see. I was managing at what was the name of that restaurant? It was a while back. Well, let's just talk about, I was over at Zaziki's and they had just started opening. And at that point, all I had was nightclub experience. So they brought me in to run the bar. And at that point is where they started teaching me about the food.
How did you get involved with Shell Shack?
So Shell Shack is my business partner Matt Saba. That's our creation. We saw a market for this seafood concept that was not being executed properly, and with my experience in what I was seeing when I went into these different types of concepts, I was seeing how they weren't executing, they weren't doing the drinks properly, they weren't doing the right hours properly. Their food was inconsistent. So Matt and I took the next 2.5 years of developing our sauce and everything at our sports bar, believe it or not, and doing a crab Thursday until we finally got it to where we were happy with it. And then there we went and found locations and started executing.
So Shell Shack had already been in existence before you got there, and then you changed everything.
No, Shell Shack wasn't in existence. There were other types of seafood restaurants. We just took the concept, developed our own sauce, and made Shell Shack's concept what it is as the number one seafood in DFW, by taking everything that we saw with our experience and executing it properly.
Okay. So you had some experience then in developing kind of like recipes and food as well.
Well, I can taste it. I'm not that great of a cook, but we do bring in the right people who are very good at that.
Okay. What kind of how has the culture in those restaurants improved, would you say, compared to how it was before you guys took over?
Well, so we didn't take over Shell Shack. We created.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, before you created it. Yeah. How is that? How is the culture of Shell Shack different than kind of those other places that didn't have those elements?
We sit here and I mean we grew, and true story, we tried to franchise one of those restaurants and they wouldn't franchise to us because of who we were. So that's when the worst thing you can ever tell me is no. That's when we created our own concept. So we did the hours properly. We did the full bar properly, everything. And we took a concept that we were watching in a little 1,500 square foot building to now we have some of ours are 7,500 square feet, and they're just busy from open to close, and they go on 3-hour waits, and it's just real exciting.
Why would you say that culture is important in the restaurant industry?
As far as what?
How you feel when you walk in there, things like that.
Oh,
or for the employees.
Well, so with when you walk into a place, I mean, you got to feel comfortable with it. You don't want, nobody likes to go anywhere they don't feel that they feel uncomfortable. So when you walk into a place, you need to feel that comfort level, even if it's your first time or if it's your 20th time walking in there. And your employees, they've really got to enjoy it too. They've really got to buy into it. I have one of my top managers. He always says, Dallas, I drank the Kool-Aid. I believe in Shell Shack. I drank the Kool-Aid. And I've got some employees that have been. I've got one in particular. She's been with me almost 20 years. Been with me through all my concepts, and just stays with me. I've got other ones. Dominic. I mean, this guy is just a rock star and loves his job. Been with me 6-7 years. And they really take ownership and have fun and really go the extra mile to make sure everybody feels that comfort level.
What's your favorite dish at Shell Shack?
Well, I got a couple. So the Bear Eye crab, which we're one of the only ones that can get it in the state of Texas, is just, I mean, amazing crab. And most people don't know about it except watching Deadliest Catch on TV, and they talk about the elusive Bear Eye crab. It is amazing. We have some new items coming out that I'm real excited about that debut today, actually. We've got a seafood pasta or a shrimp pasta. We've got scallops that are about to be coming out. Lobsters coming into the mix. But I'd have to say, all in all, my favorite is the Bear Eye crab.
Okay, very nice. So you also are CEO at a couple other places. Tell me about your involvement with Sushi Marquee. How did that come about?
Sushi Marquee, an old friend of mine came to me and said he had an idea. And there was this place out of Hollywood that was just a blast. And I flew down there to check it out. And it was a lot of fun, but it was horrible sushi. I mean, and they didn't have a full bar. And I mean, you would literally have a $20 food bill and maybe a $600 bar bill. But the place was fun. I give it that. So his idea was to recreate that, but do it with amazing sushi And I kind of took a backseat role on it, and then I ended up stepping in and taking over full operations with it. I was always the CEO, but we really took it. They built the foundation for it, and then we just took it to the next level. And we've got an MC in there and a DJ, and it's so interactive. It's a concept that really nobody has ever seen before, and I think that's why we're so successful. And on top of that, our food is so phenomenal. In fact, we just won best best sushi in DFW, and best all around restaurant in Frisco, beating out 5-star steakhouses for best all around restaurant. So,
wow, what makes it so unique, would you say? I mean, you mentioned some of the things in there, but what is it about it that's so great?
So it is a 5,000 square foot on the inside, 3,000 square foot patio. It's got a TV system. I call it a system because it's 18 TVs put together that run as one. We've got 80s and 90s videos playing at all time. We have a DJ in there with an MC. The birthday parties. We hold the world sake bomb record. It is a fun, interactive restaurant that kicks it up to the next gear. You'll have people in there doing a line dance, or they'll be singing "Living on a Prayer" or "Sweet Caroline," and it's just such a fun experience that you can take anyone from a 6-year-old to a 60-year-old there, and everybody's going to have a good time.
Did it evolve into that, or was that kind of a vision that you started with, and it started like that?
It didn't quite start like that. It was the vision, and we just had to nudge it along to get it there.
Mm-hmm. What about Evan Flo?
So Evan Flo was the brainchild of my little brother, and he needed my help a couple of years ago. And Evan Flo opened right before COVID. And so, as you can imagine, it needed a lot of help to make sure to get it through. My brother is a huge live music venue operator and didn't know a lot about restaurants. So I came in, took over, and along with my sister-in-law, Laura, who designed the place. If you've ever heard anything about Evan Flo, it's gorgeous. But we took it, and we took this concept again with great food, great ambiance, and great craft cocktails to a level where during COVID, we were making good money. And because it was doing so well, we decided to open up a second one and went to the Shops of Legacy in Plano and opened up our second location. And they're both just doing phenomenal. It's a great atmosphere, great brunch. People want to be seen there. Great patio. In fact, here again, Evan Flo this year got best new restaurant, best brunch in Plano, and best patio in Plano.
Wow. How did you said you kind of survived, not only survived during COVID, but thrived. What do you think were some of the keys to your success even during COVID?
I think a good product, number one, but number two, and I've said this publicly, I don't think it was a secret that the people who fought to stay open and who had a great product, who did not throw their hands in the air and say, "Oh my God, poor me," they thrived. Or they did well. They did not lose money. I know several friends that have restaurants that did the same thing, and they did thrive. Unfortunately, other people kind of threw their hands up, and those are some of the ones that aren't around anymore.
Did you have to make any adaptations or change because of it? And did those changes last?
So we did. Our to-goes went up 500%, which was crazy. And restaurants are not equipped to handle that many to-goes, especially on the phone. So we actually had to change our phone system because we had people that were getting upset with us that they were saying they were trying to call in, and it was taking 30 minutes before anybody answered the phone. Well, what they didn't realize is I had 4 people answering the phone nonstop. And as soon as they would hang up the phone, they would pick it up again, hang it up, pick it up again. And so we actually had to change our system to where it put people in a queue. So they knew what number they were. So they knew we were actually answering the phones and not just ignoring. People thought we were ignoring, but it got crazy with all those to-go orders. Now they have tapered off some. Our to-go business is still phenomenal. But with people coming in the restaurant now, they have tapered off some.
So the to-go element is still much stronger than it was prior to COVID?
Correct.
And you think it'll probably last that or stay that way?
I truly believe so, yeah.
What are some of the challenges associated with being in charge of, you got Ebb and Flow, you got the sushi place, you got Shell Shack. What are some of the challenges of being in charge of different types of restaurants in different places?
Oh, not a great social life. um, yeah, always having to keep that phone on you 24/7. It does give you some challenges, but you know, it also kind of uh, gives you new, fresh things instead of just looking at the same restaurant over and over. You have something you need to do. Like right now at Sushi Marquee, where this week we're doing our final testing and training, and we're actually adding hibachi to the menu over at Sushi Marquee. So it breaks up the monotony, and I'm over here a little bit more than normal. I'm eating a bunch of hibachi food and gaining a bunch of weight, but and then in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be unveiling the scallops and the lobster over at Shell Shack. So we're over there. We're doing the PR for that. I did a TV show last week that was about ebb and flow. So then I was over there doing that. So, it gets it to where you're not just doing the same thing every day.
Would you say when you do things like that, those are kind of proactive decisions? We're trying to keep the place fresh, or are they reactive, or a combination?
No, we try to always stay proactive because, a young entrepreneur, I did beat my chest when I thought I was just doing amazing, and I lost sight that I just thought everything was great, and then sales started to dip off, and we were a little cocky about how well we were doing. Not in Shell Shack, this is way earlier, and so I learned at that point that whatever you do right now, you don't see the effects from it for 6 months. So with our promotions, with the food critics, with everything we do, we always keep our foot on the gas. And and on top of that, I have a great staff and great support with my corporate office. My CFO Angela, my COO Monty, my assistant Shelby. I mean, if I didn't have her, I'd be going nuts.
What is there a story that kind of was like a valuable learning experience? You talked about some of your earlier days where you kind of had to, I don't know, humble yourself or learn from a certain situation and move forward.
Actually, so I've had one location fail, and that was when I was right after I got out of the military. I was 25 years old, working in the nightclub industry, young general manager, and this is the incident I was talking about. We were doing great numbers, great sales. I came into a situation where I could buy this nightclub, and I thought I knew everything there was to know about the industry. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know everything there was to know, and what I did know, it was only on a management level, not an owner level. And my concept ended up failing, and I had to humble myself, get back down to the roots, become a manager, a general manager, and really start learning how to be an owner. And luckily enough, I had a couple mentors that saw something in me that maybe some people might not have, because they probably should have fired me a million times. And they did not. And they taught me, and I started learning more than what a normal general manager would. I started doing insurance audits and different things that's really handled at a corporate level. I started doing those, and I was started to be cultivated to learn how to be an owner.
Do you have some milestones that you're particularly proud of so far?
God, I got so many. I mean, opening up my first concept that's going. When we do a different concept, when we did our sports bar, and that was fun and exciting. Shell Shack, is another one, and watch it grow and become the number one seafood in DFW. Sushi Marquee. I mean, there's just so many of them that and they just keep on coming. Very exciting.
You guys are obviously being very proactive in terms of keeping your current restaurants moving forward. Do you have any ideas percolating in your mind for the future?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
You want to share them?
Not yet. Talk to me first quarter next year.
Okay, I don't blame you. So we're big fans of publicly acknowledging people who have been influential for us. Who are some people in the restaurant industry that you respect and look to?
So there's probably David Yarborough and Scott Gordon from Front Burner is a huge one. Scott's been somebody that I could go to and call, and I could pay him to come and meet with me, and his payment that he required from me was to buy him lunch. And we would sit there and I could pick his brain, and he was such a good mentor. And to this day still is. And all he required from me was that I pass it on, and I can only charge the same thing he charged, and that was lunch.
Okay. Very nice. Well, it's been great talking to you today, Dallas. How can people find out more about your restaurants?
So they can go to the website. We have shellshack.com, sushimarquee.com, ebbandflowtx.com. You can Google us. You can Google my name. They will all pop up. But yeah, I mean, just Google them. We are all over. We're constantly doing our PR, cooking shows. We're on the news, everything. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, best of luck to you in the future. And I really appreciate your time today, Dallas. Thanks.
Thank you.
So long, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.